Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
32-year-old Texas resident David Judd was seen on surveillance video entering the Lower West Terrace tunnel. Just before he entered, though, he turned toward the mob and he waved for others to follow him. After entering, Judd took part in that heave-ho effort where everyone was rocking back and forth and pushing on officers as a group. He did this several times, and then he moved out to the mouth of the tunnel again, and then he was helping January 6th convict now, David Mahaffey, to direct traffic in and out of the entrance. A little while later, Judd turned toward the mob again, and he yelled, quote, "Shield wall." So the mob responded. They passed stolen riot shields forward to try to help in the fight against the officers, and Judd assisted them. He helped them to move the shields into the tunnel to use against the police. Sometime after that, Judd moved back to the center of the mob inside the tunnel, and he lit a firecracker, and then he chucked it at the police. Now, he claims that he found this on the ground. We don't know, though, for sure. He then turned around and he headed toward the mouth of the tunnel again, where he continued to wave for others to take part in the attack. Over the course of the next hour, Judd stood near the entrance and he kept waving. He kept pumping his fist in the air, encouraging others to join in the chaos. He also helped to rinse chemicals out of people's eyes after they were sprayed by police. And after another member of the mob chucked a long pole-looking object into the tunnel, like a spear. I mean, this thing was huge. Judd celebrated. You could see him on video. He was waving a small flag in the air. At one point, the officers were able to push the mob back to the mouth of the tunnel. And then that's when Judd joined in again. He lent his weight and he was again pushing against officers. And this was as others were yelling, "Push." So Judd remained on the Capitol grounds even after leaving the tunnel area. He remained on the Capitol grounds until after the citywide curfew was imposed. There's photos of him there even after it was dark outside. In fact, the prosecutor said Judd was one of the very last rioters to be removed from the Capitol grounds that night. So Judd was arrested on March 26th of 2021. And in a fifth superseding indictment, he was charged with 2 counts of assaulting officers, 1 count of assaulting officers with a dangerous weapon, obstructing an official proceeding, civil disorder, disorderly conduct on restricted grounds with a dangerous weapon, disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds, and physical violence on Capitol grounds. Judd refused a plea deal. He opted instead for a stipulated bench trial. He was found guilty of assaulting officers and obstructing an official proceeding. So based on the obstruction charge, Judd was looking at a maximum of 20 years in prison, 3 years of probation, and $250,000 in fines. And this time, the prosecutor requested a pretty decent sentence. They asked the judge to give him 90 months in prison, 3 years of probation, and a $2,000 restitution fee. The prosecutor actually tried to impose a terrorism enhancement, but the judge refused. Any guess as to who the judge is in this case? I'll give you 3 guesses and the first 2 don't count. Yeah, U.S. District Judge Trevor McFadden presided over this case. You know, the judge who was literally part of Trump's transition team in the 2016 election. So at the sentencing hearing, Judd cried. And he apologized to the officers who were at the Capitol. He also apologized to his family for causing them pain. And Judge McFadden noted that Judd was, quote, part of some of the most violent and shocking confrontations with police officers that day. The judge also called it, quote, a flagrant affront to our system of government. And then McFadden also laid into the prosecutor. He accused the Justice Department of seeking harsher sentences for January 6 defendants than they did for those who took part in illegal actions during the 2020 racial justice protests. So the prosecutor pointed out to McFadden a few very key differences. First of all, they said January 6th was an attack on democracy itself, an attempt to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. Second, they noted that there's far more video evidence of crimes being committed on January 6th. So it's a little easier to prosecute people when they're so stupid that they literally film themselves because they're white and they think they're going to get away with everything. And most crucial, the prosecutor informed the judge that in a lot of cases, the feds chose not to pursue some cases and bring charges because the defendants were already being charged with far more serious crimes by state prosecutors. Then Judge McFadden brought up an incident, which you guys probably all know of. This was in New York. People threw Molotov cocktails into an empty police car. And he's mentioned how light the sentence was in that case. So I guess this Trump bootlicking moron equates the destruction of property, the destruction of a police car, with a physical violent attack on a human being. That pretty much tells you everything you need to know about him. So anyway, as you guys probably can already guess, McFadden went way below the sentencing guidelines. In the end, Judge McFadden sentenced Judd to only 32 months in prison, 2 years of probation, $2,000 in restitution, and a $5,691 fine. Why $5,691? I don't know. I have no idea. Those details haven't been released yet, but McFadden is a freaking joke. He has the nerve to call out the DOJ and AG Merrick Garland, which he did personally, for not applying the law equally. But then he gives every Trump insurrectionist a pass as compared to other judges. And most disturbing is the fact that McFadden is presiding over the cases for Judd's co-defendants. These are the worst of the worst in that tunnel that day. They were some of the most violent offenders, like Patrick McCoy, who practically tortured Officer Daniel Hodges as he was being crushed in a doorway. So, as I've said before, this is a massive conflict of interest. McFadden should have recused himself. Given his involvement in Trump's transition team, he absolutely has no business sentencing people in these cases. He also, by the way, in 2018, refused to recuse himself from a case involving that Fusion GPS Trump-Russia dossier. You guys probably remember that. As with his cult leader, McFadden obviously seems to think that rules don't apply to him. He can do no wrong. So anyway, guys, if I hear any more about this, I will let you know. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please donate. It truly helps to keep the show going, and you have no idea how appreciated it is. Love you all. Take care, and I'll talk with you soon.